Hello, everyone. Welcome to this introduction to Confluence webinar for about the next hour. We're going to be doing a pretty deep demo of the features that come with Confluence, starting with simply the basics of text editing, and then we'll dive into some of the integrations that it can have with other platforms like Jira. We'll also be showing a couple of examples of how even different groups might be using this. And so while it was originally designed as a tool for IT teams, we got a couple of examples of non-IT departments, even how they could use this. And that might be a useful thing for you to see. My name is Tony Hartsfield. I am a business consultant with Expium. And Expium is a Platinum Solutions partner with Atlassian. So we don't work for Atlassian, but we work with Atlassian. We'll talk a little bit more about our company a little bit later on. So again, our agenda then today, after just simply talking a little bit about what is Confluence, we're going to go into some of the basic editing capabilities, but then some really nice tools to help you do some reporting on your projects, that while the work itself is going to exist in Jira where the project is, your reporting might take place in a Confluence page for your stakeholders and leadership management team to review what's going on with the project, and Confluence just becomes a great place for that kind of reporting opportunities. We'll take a look at a couple other portals, as I mentioned, one for a marketing group and then one for a team of teams, and we'll see what those look like as well. We'll talk briefly about governance, at least give you some ideas about what your organization needs to think about when working with a tool like Confluence. One of the things you'll discover with Atlassian products is that they're highly extensible. And so yes, they can do lots of things, but maybe in your organization you want to have some structure as to how you're going to use your tools. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. And then lastly, we'll finish with some time for Q&A. There is a Q&A feature in this webinar instance, and I invite you to utilize that, and then toward the end I'll take a look and see if there are any questions there, and then we'll end our time before the end of the hour. But let's talk a little about, first off, what is Confluence, and what are the basic functionalities that we have access to. Confluence is, as Atlassian would call it, a wiki-style editing tool that is basically used to document your project, your organization, your group, your team, whatever it can be. Because it's extensible, it not only can handle the information that you're reporting with, but you also have a lot of visualization tools that allow you to customize the look and feel of the page so that you can really draw the eye. You can help interpret data for people to understand what to look for and how to look at it. And so it's really a great tool for teams and organizations to efficiently make their reports on their projects. As far as the structure goes, if you're familiar with, say, Jira software, which deals with what are called projects, that container, and those your work teams, and then inside of projects, it has a container, the work units, which are called issues. And that's how then you manage getting the work done as you move issues from to do to in progress to done. Well, in Confluence, you have a similar type of container and item setup. The container for Confluence is what's called a space, and so you would have a space for any number of your groups. And then inside of the space is going to contain pages. And again, you add pages easily, edit those pages, rearrange, etc. Now, this happens to be a cloud instance, and it is also at the premium licensing level, which means that, one, being cloud, for those of you that are in a data center or server instance, the UI is going to be a little different. The outcome is largely the same. But I am displaying for you in a cloud instance. And also because this is premium, it does have access to a couple of additional features that we would actually cover in our Confluence Bootcamp. the actual hands-on deep dive, but there are things like calendars and analytics that you can utilize on your spaces as well. But again, those come with the premium licensing. So we have our spaces, and any number of spaces can be placed in there, and then the pages from there. So let's do some basics here, just as far as the first part is just simply basic editing, and show you what it can do. So I have a sample page of some of the basic editing tools are going on. I am going to peel back the curtain, open this into edit mode in just a moment, so you can also see the tools that are on there. But you have, first off, basic text, including headings. You have the ability to format text, and so bold, italic, underline, color choices. It can also do bulleted lists, and it can do numbered lists, and these can also be multi-level, so as you go in there. So if I were to go ahead and begin to edit this a little bit to show you what some of the options are, if I wanted to create a sub-bullet, I would press enter and tab, and then there's my sub-bullet. And the same thing is true of a outline number. On there, so you're seeing then the options for there. There's a couple of neat tools that are available in both DC, data center, and cloud. Just how they present themselves is slightly different, but it uses something called layouts, where you can organize your information by adding these sections with layouts in your pages. And so you'll see this one has a left panel with a right sidebar, but you have up to these different options as you're doing it. Great way to organize your information. Maybe you're going to use, like in this example, you've got your data on the left-hand side, and then maybe this could be a graphic or a chart, or in this case, this is a small table. You can also do tables. Again, the formatting is slightly different between cloud and data center, but it's still the same outcome of having a table with header or column row headers or column headers if you want. You can have numbers. And again, a great way to organize your information. It's also going to have sort options once it's been in published mode itself. So both layouts and tables are useful. There are items called action items. This is an action item here, which in an action item you can say, for instance, in your meeting notes, you could be taking notes and then take the action items. You can also mention a colleague that's in your instance and even set a due date. And then once this has been published, in this case, Vicky would receive notification that she has been given a task, and even to be able to see the date. And then she could actually go back into her view and close the action item on her own. So some great tools that are just basic, basic editing that I think many of you can see could be the advantage of these things. Let me go into another instance. I had my colleague Heather with me, and this is from our boot camp that we did a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to just take advantage of reusing the page, because I also want to talk about simultaneous editing and then commenting. Simultaneous editing is the ability, because it's in a shared location and we both have rights to the instance, then we can both go into the document at the same time and make edits. And I'll tell you, I do this a lot with my client projects, when we're taking meeting notes together. My project lead and I will go into the page at the same time, because he might be taking notes in one area, I might be capturing observations or action items in another area. And so simultaneous editing is a great thing. So Heather, on the count of 3, we're going to click edit and begin to make some edits. And so 1, 2, 3. First thing I'm going to notice when I get in is that I see already that Heather is already in with me, and as she'll see my cursor as we're working in this. And so if I go in and start making some changes here, I see Heather's cursor there. So I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to change this from porridge to soup, and I'm going to make it bold, and I'll make it red. And then I'm going to make a deletion. And so as we are working on this document together, Heather can actually see what I'm doing and I can see what she's doing. And then when we're all done, we click publish and our changes will be merged. And so you can see that this also writes to what's called the page history. And in the page history then, I can see the evolution of a page, say, and I can move on and see the growth. I can even run comparisons between the two. So a really useful tool for not only for simultaneous editing, but for the history part as well, so that you have the ability to decide whether or not your latest edits are worth it. You could revert back to a previous version. You can always make the changes. And so again, what I think is a great tool. Because it's in a shared location and we both have rights to the page. The other thing that's useful in Confluence, and it is managed, by the way, by administration, so you can manage who can comment or not, but commenting is also a big part of Confluence as well. And there are two places that you can comment. One is at the bottom of a page itself. And so if you have observations or suggestions about the overall content of a page, I could say, Heather, please you can see they did not hire me for my typing, people. And say Heather would then be notified that she was mentioned, and then she would have the ability to reply to that or add additional comments herself. As the person who created the comment, you have the ability to delete it or edit it. So that's one place to comment. Another place is to actually do what's called inline commenting, where just as you saw in the editing, you can select text in a page and the ability to add a comment to it, where the text is highlighted, you have a comment space on the right-hand side. And again, you can mention someone and you can add those comments. Now in data center mode, in the data center instance, you must be in a published page in order to comment, but for cloud, you can actually add comments while you're editing, which is a really nice feature. So I can go and add another comment here. And save those, and then you can navigate between your comments. Again, you have the ability to reply, to edit. If it's my creation, there's the ability to add emoji to it. In Data Center, it's the ability to what's called like, and so you can actually vote or add a plus symbol to it. And here you actually can add emoji to it. And then you can also resolve. So inline commenting for in cloud, both while you're in edit mode or in publish mode. Really useful tools from there. And then I see that Heather responded to my comment here. So again, a great tool for interacting with your community so that you have not only your content, but you have your people able to respond, to see, to make suggestions, and for you to take those suggestions into your iterations of your pages. So collaboration is a big important element of Atlassian ecosphere, and they like to encourage that. Let me go back to the other page and talk about a few other tools that you can do. Linking. Both instances, both data center and cloud, offer linking. I will tell you that cloud instance does a little bit more cosmetically interesting things with linking. And so the types of links you can do, you can link to just simply another page in your instance. And I'll just kind of show you what that link is. This is just a link to another place on Confluence. But in cloud, you also have the ability to display it in multiple ways. If I click on this, again, I'm in edit mode right now. I have the ability to paste just the URL, or place it in line, what you're seeing here, or even what's called a card. And this is one that's been placed as a card. So if you wanted to give a little preview of the page before someone goes there, that's what you have, also the ability to preview the page. You also have here, this is the same options here. This is our website, and I have the ability to either display it inline or as a card. And I like cosmetically what this does with the card options as well. It'll also automatically know for certain types of links, like media links. And so in this case, this is one of our YouTube videos on our YouTube channel, which I'll share in just a little bit. But you can see that as I paste a YouTube video, it actually embeds it into an iframe that will play the video there, or also give them the option to go and view it in YouTube itself. Data Center also does this and does it automatically. It places it into a gadget called the widget, which then recognizes media files and will display them like that. So for instance, if you have your YouTube channel, or wherever you're placing your videos, maybe in your learning management system, maybe you use Microsoft Stream, that way you can have your videos there and then have just links to them in your documentation there, in your documentation pages. There are also attachments. Attachments can be added to a page, and whether it is an image, or if it is a file of some sort. And then there are various macros for even ways to how you want to display your attachments. Pretty straightforward as far as using the attachment tool, what you want to place in there. It's just a matter of using the attachment macro and then going and finding what it is you want to place in there and adding it to. It does add to your page, and so it may be a consideration as to how much space you want to take up in your Confluence instance by attaching files to your pages, and therefore inside of your Confluence software. But we understand there's a need for some attachments. We might recommend, as for our clients though, in many cases it might make more sense to use links to the items that are already in, maybe they're in a repository somewhere. We at XVM, we're a Google shop, and so it might be to a Google Drive folder, or it might be a Box folder, or Dropbox, or OneDrive. You could just put the link to it, and kind of like you saw in the simultaneous editing demonstration, if the viewers of your page have access to see it in the external location, then it might be an interesting consideration to embed. And I will show you an embed when I get to my marketing page example. You can simply attach the macro to the top of the page and display it in line, but there are a couple of additional macros that are in Confluence that can simply give a display of what macros you have in your document. And so there are actually more macros or more attachments on the backside of this this page, not just the image, but there are other ones like these. These are status reports, and you can have them attached to the page, but then surface them using this macro option, attachments macro, which will simply display them. You can give them also the ability for your viewers to add additional attachments to the page, or you can turn that off. This one, the functionality has been turned off. There's also something called a gallery for if you have a lot of images. Maybe your images are things like the people on your team, or it's processes. You've drawn diagrams of decisions or workflows, or any of those number of things that are really important enough to display on the page itself. Well, you could mention them throughout your page, but then there is what's called an image gallery that might be the way that you focus their eyes to all the images in one location, similar to the attachments macro. Speaking of macros, and by the way, sometimes that word macro can be intimidating, but all Confluence means by that is that it's a tool that does some of the work for you. things, and they can be simply visual, or they can be collect information for you. There's some really nice ones that are in here. So for instance, there's a series what are called panel macros, and panel macros in cloud, you have the ability to switch to any of them at any time. So it can go from info to note to success to warning to none, or this is the error, to your own emoji, or none. So you could actually just create a color bar, which is an interesting way to draw the eye to those. And so I'm going to put this back to note. Or was it success? Success. There we go. And so these panel macros. Now in Data Center, these are separate macros. You actually just, but they function similarly. You just, they have their own name that's in there. There's also something called a status macro, which is just simply a button. You can add the button, add the text that's going to be on there. We use these when we're talking about how we're doing in our projects. Are we on track? Is it in development? Is it in deployment yet? And so we'll just create a button, or a lozenge, as Atlassian likes to call them, and you add the text to them. Really useful for, again, drawing the eye to the different places. This is one of our favorite tools, the expand macro, where a great way to manage the horizontal space on your pages is to use the expand macro, where you can even put a title here, but then you place the text that you want. Then when you view the page, what you see is the expand macro, and then expand the page for there. Think about it this way. What if you had a lot of policies, or what if you had a lot of tasks to perform, maybe in your QA process? And even in those tasks, then you've included 4 or 5 steps per task to do so. Well, you still want to know the order of the tasks, but maybe your QA team, once they've done it a few times, knows the steps to complete, unless they need to check it on it. So maybe they just want to see the tasks in the order that they want to be done, and then they could follow. But anything they need to expand upon, you can do. Or a mission statement or a policy statement. We use this for our statement of work. When we have an engagement page, we'll put the statement of work at the bottom of the page, and then everyone can always, when necessary, expand it to see what kind of things are available. There are navigation macros like the table of contents, which can be focused on the headings of your page, which is why we encourage using headings. And you can even manage how many headings to include. So maybe you're using 4 levels of outline headings in the document, in the page, but you only want the first 2 levels on your table of contents. There's also something called a page tree, which is great for your home page of your space, like the overview. This is where you could have essentially what you might see on the left-hand side of what all the pages are, and then even search. But here's something special about this as well. This is not even from this space. This is a page tree from another space. And so if you're trying to highlight navigation to other places, great way to do just that. There are many more macros. I'll just kind of show you a few that's available to you. Now again, the display of macros is different between Data Center and cloud, but they're largely the same number that you can have access to. There's a few things that have been added to cloud that aren't in Data Center, things like the decision macro, kind of, et cetera. There's a couple others like that. And then your instance, your organization may have third-party tools plugged in that may also be doing that. So for instance, we have a Miro board, a Trello board, or other things. Maybe you want to have a connection to, maybe use EasyBI if you're in for analytics. You can get one of those off of the Atlassian marketplace. Other types of ones that are available. So just to make you aware of, you may have many more that comes out of the box depending upon your instance itself. Another really nice feature of Jira, or I mean of Confluence, is its integration with Jira. You saw a couple of the macros, and I'm going to go to a page to show you a lot of information coming from Jira to Confluence. But let me first talk about going from Confluence into a Jira project. So maybe this is a meeting note, and you want to, based upon this, you want to create a new user story in a particular project in your Jira software instance. That can be done by just simply selecting text. And similar to commenting, except when you're in a published mode, you have the ability to create an issue. You select the project you want it to go into. You select the issue type. In this case, I'll go ahead and stay with story. This is the summary of it. You can also add a description if you want to. And create. And this will actually, from your, because it's in the same instance together, this will create a Jira issue with a link to it, and even telling you what status it's in the project, so you wouldn't have to even go very far to see that information. Also, in Cloud, there is up at the top of the page a reminder about how many Jira links you have on a particular page. So that's one at a time, but you can also do this with multiples. Imagine you're in your meeting now. Your DevOps team is having a meeting, and what they're discussing are either the next several tasks, or maybe they're in a bug mode and they're finding out bugs, but maybe it's just tasks that need to be worked on. You can also do that in a table, where you select the text rows of your table, create an issue. It recognizes that it's in a table, and so you can create multiples. You can choose, again, the project. You can choose the issue type. Now, they will all be the same issue type from this list, and it's going to grab the columns that you've labeled for the summary and the description field, and then this will simply generate as many issues as you need to off that table. So great ways to have Confluence talk to your talk to Jira. But let's talk about Jira coming back and talking to us. And so let me show you a common status report that we might have for our projects. We often set these up with our clients when we do this as well. But these are just a series of macros that will draw information from Jira and display them in your Confluence page. Again, a few features up here. Let me just remind you, the calendar feature comes with the fact that this is the premium level of Confluence. This is that attachments macro, again, showing you those. This is just a table. And so the advantage of this table means that you not only get to display the information here, but you also have the ability to take the time and have the ability to describe what you're doing. Tell them how to interpret this information. So this is where we suggest in many cases that, again, while the work might be taking place in Jira, because that is a single source of truth of the work, Confluence may very well be the one place where you're going to have for your reporting. And you just simply pull in the Jira information onto a Confluence page, and so that people can look at these things. These are just Jira list macros based upon a JQL search. If you've done JQL searching in Jira, it's based upon that and just showing you the results. And so these are things that are in a done status. These are still in progress. These are in the to-do or the backlog, and it's just displaying that for me. I can have a roadmap macro where I can see, now this is not editable, but I can see where I am on the phases of this. There's also the use of not only the filters for displaying the issues, the same filter could be used for things like pie charts or two-dimensional charts. And so you have some really nice ways to display the image, not the data, with also nice visuals to help you see these things. There is also the ability to, let me flip over to another example page. I think that might be better for you. So let me go in here into another space. Again, a lot of the same features here. This is an advanced roadmap. If you have, again, the premium level of Jira software, that includes a really nice planning tool called Advanced Roadmaps. And we actually have a 4-hour class on Advanced Roadmaps that we offer. There are also our webinars like this one on Confluence. There is a 1-hour webinar on using Advanced Roadmaps for portfolio management. And this is a display of those things as well, where again, I can expand my epics, or if you're in scaled, you might call those features, down into your tasks or user stories and see the progress. So as a manager, this might be an interesting way for me to visualize what is taking place and how our progress is. Here again is the notice of the Jira issues and a macro, but I just get to explain what you're reading, how to interpret this. The statement of work expand macro is here, as you can see as well. So once you start to put all these things together, utilizing tables or utilizing layouts, having your different macros for visualizations, like the panel macros, like your status buttons, like the expand macro, and then you can manage all those things with navigating through a table of contents or a page tree, and many, many others that are on there. You're just kind of seeing some great ways to present your pages in a meaningful fashion that really provides valuable information to your community, so that they can get their work done or find out what work is being done. So you're seeing, hopefully then, that this can be a great tool for making the reporting much more consumable, interactive. It's easy to update and edit. It's the person creating it can control the message so that you can make sure that it's meaningful to your people. And so great things that are here in making your reports in Confluence. Of course, you can, if you're a Jira instance. People always ask, well, what about Jira dashboards? And absolutely, Jira dashboards, a lot of the stuff that I'm displaying is coming from essentially a Jira dashboard gadget. And so it's drawing over. And it's likely that your project teams will probably want to stay in Jira itself, because they're the ones that are processing the issues or the work items. And so they might just flip over into a dashboard to visualize a lot of this data. But again, but your management team may be never going into Jira. They have a license, but they're not really going to the project themselves, because you're going to give them the information here. There's a couple of other things that are in the latest editions of Jira Cloud. This is Jira Cloud. If you have the newer versions, it uses something called the new editing page. And that includes a view called I don't even know, I don't think I can do it here. Let me see. Presenter mode. This is, again, a new view in the last couple of months, I think, in Jira Cloud only, unfortunately for data center instances. But if you're presenting to people, well, you could actually even move into what's called presenter mode and adjust and whether or not you want this cursor or not. But it went into full screen mode, and you can scroll through your page, and so you can actually drive them directly to there. Again, this is fairly new, but I like it a fair amount. We start to use this in some of our client meetings that we have on their presenter view. Just a couple of highlights here. Because this is premium, it does have what's called the calendar option, and that calendar, you can either create the calendar in your instance, or you can subscribe to an existing calendar. So if your calendars in your email system have a have a URL that you can subscribe to. You can display it here. And we use it for our engagements to let our clients know when someone is going to be out, or when perhaps is going to be an important installation day. In some cases, for our clients that are using Scrum boards, we can actually display a sprint in the calendar so that they know what sprint we're in just from looking at the calendar view. So there's lots of things that we can do for that as well. Let me flip over into another type of presentation, though, another type of space, because what you've been seeing so far is IT, and of course that's what it was designed for. But Confluence is not limited to IT spaces at all. And so let me flip you over into another one. Let me go into, well, yeah, I will. Let me go into marketing. And what marketing has done is they have a team homepage, which this is just a series of tables where they have colored the top row, and then they've added emoji to it. And then but it's a great way to describe what the department's about. This is a macro on recent updates, and so it's seeing what changes have been made. Again, just another table using emojis to draw the eye to this section. They're using a macro called the user info or profile picture one, and you can actually place that in there so you can see the different people involved in your team, their calendar. Again, just another table with links to things. That's really all this really is. But really, you can kind of see how this might be a useful landing page for, say, your marketing department, your accounting department, your recruiting, your library, of course, IT. But then this group is more than that. So when they look at their project dashboard, this team is made up of multiple teams. And so you're seeing, first off, the overall report on the top page, but there are actually 5 teams within this department. And so another way to lay this out then would be to give each one of those teams their own page so that they could have their own settings here. So you wouldn't have to go to a separate space. You certainly could, but everything could be contained with a single space, the marketing group. Inside of that then they're utilizing something called templates. And in cloud, there are dozens of templates. There are a few in data center, but they're pretty good. But these are based off of blank pages, and we just simply design them off of blank pages. But inside of the Jira instance are access to many templates, like I said, especially in Jira Cloud or in Confluence Cloud. Out of the box, there are 129 templates. So many of these were created by third-party companies that like to use Atlassian products, and so they have created some of these to use in their processes, and they've simply shared them with Atlassian, and so they have been placed in there. Again, you can find other templates on the Atlassian marketplace if you want to search for those things, but this is using those templates. And so on that space, let me go back to the space. They have utilized a template called Meeting Notes. And what Meeting Notes does is it will create not only a new meeting note, which has built-in structure. So this template comes with date, participants, goals, discussion topics, action items, and in cloud, the decision option. And that's out of the box. But you can even customize this template. As you saw me do with the Jira issues, maybe I want to add that another table for Jira issues based upon discussion. And that way I can then, when I publish the meeting notes, I can then convert those data rows from the table into Jira issues, or whatever else you'd like to have in this. You can rename something. You can add emojis to highlight the types of things that are in here. So it creates the meeting notes, but then also many of the templates have what's called an index page, where this collects the information that was gathered from the meeting notes. And so things like the task macro, which is just showing you all the incomplete tasks from this section. Any decisions, and then this is a page listing of all of the pages that were created underneath this macro. So a nice section from there, and it's all from the template itself. You didn't have to create all these pieces yourself. And like I said, there's almost 130 in data center and cloud. I believe there's close to 20 in data center, but you'll find that they're useful. You can even create your own templates, let alone modify existing ones that are on there. So templates are a great tool as well to have a lot of the work already done for you. Okay, let me talk a little, go back and look at a couple of more things, and then I want to talk about our company just a moment. We've been dealing with integrations with some external tools like a document link to a video from elsewhere. There's a couple of other ones that you can also do. And in our example here, we're using, in this situation, we're using a Miro board macro, so we can insert a Miro board, which is a great whiteboarding tool. If you're not using a tool like this to help you map out what you're thinking, so many of our discussions are not really about the tool itself. When we're helping a client implement an Atlassian product, for instance, we'll spend most of our first meeting time in a Miro board trying to map out what it is they want to see before we ever start touching the tool and making those actual changes. And so this is a Miro board. Next one is using a Trello board. Trello is a relatively simple task board. Some people use it as a Kanban board where you simply move items from left to right. And again, as long as everyone has rights to see the Trello board, they would see it embedded into your Confluence page, and they can move items along in there. Trello, by the way, has been making a comeback from Atlassian, and they've been adding some interesting new features. And so I think you may find several of our members, of our coworkers here, use Trello personally to manage their own personal lives. There is a free version of it. You can go look up Trello and find it in there. And then lastly, I want to show you a couple of ways of using a document instead of attaching them to this page. These are embedded. These are links to documents. In our case, we're a Google shop, and so these are documents that are coming from a Google Drive folder that I either have at least view access to so that I can read these. And then I also have one here that I not only have view access to, but I have edit rights to. And so by embedding this, this attachment, I'm sorry, it's not even an attachment, I'm embedding this document link. And because I have rights to the document in the G Drive folder, I can not only see, I can actually make edits, live edits in the document itself. So the integration with Google Drive, Google Work is built in with Atlassian products, but there are plugins that you can get for instance, if you're an Office 365 shop, that you could do this similar type of option where you are able to embed and edit in the page. At the very least, you could simply use the SharePoint link or the Microsoft Teams link to a file that's in a folder in your instance. And when they go to that link, then obviously if they have access to it, they can edit it that way. So it's another way to show collaboration on documents without information being in more than one place. And that's very important to talk about, is governance. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about our company, just because I don't know how you got here. And so to tell you a little about who we are, we are, again, a platinum solution partner with Atlassian. And we have three basic branches of revenue streams that we do. A lot of it is the training that you're seeing here. Every Thursday at 11 Central, we offer another topic. I will take you to our website in just a moment to see what's going on there, and Heather is going to post that into the links of our meeting together. We also do a lot of consulting, because sometimes out of our training, people realize that they would like further assistance with either the purchasing. We can assist with licensing of Atlassian products, the implementation, the migration, sometimes moving from a different one, a different product into an Atlassian product. We're doing a lot of that right now with Jira Service Management. We're helping companies moving from other help desk software, and we're doing a lot of that. So a lot of our client work is done there. And then we can also do custom development. If in that process of moving from one product to an Atlassian product, we need some sort of tool that's going to help make that process take place, or there's certain functionality that your business requires that an out-of-the-box solution out of Atlassian won't do. We actually have a sister company that works with us, and they're full stack developers, and they can actually help create some of those solutions. We have a couple that are on the Atlassian marketplace even to have there. So there are not too many platinum solution partners for Atlassian. There are 500 plus solution partners, but only a few dozen are in platinum, which means a certain number of people have to be Atlassian certified in order to be considered a partner. And so all of our consultants, any consultant that you would work with us, we are all, we pursue and maintain Atlassian certification, which is certification exams to show that we have an understanding of the product. So we think that separates us from many other solution partners, because you're not really talking to salespeople, you're talking to Atlassian professionals. Our website has highlights a lot of those things as well, but I want you to see on the events page there is our upcoming events that are coming along, whether they are webinars like you're seeing now, or boot camps. We actually do a one-day deep dive boot camp into Confluence. It's extended onto our Jira boot camp. So we oftentimes will have people that come that want to learn, take a deep dive into Jira, and then they also happen to have Confluence on there. But they are separate. They can be a separate event. So if you're only interested in Confluence, you can do it that way as well. And so those are some of the upcoming ones. We also have a 2-day Jira Service Management boot camp. If you're interested into a semi-deep dive into Jira Service Management, you're thinking about that for your help desk, for your change management, asset management, et cetera. We can also offer that. And then we have a couple of other workshops that are coming up, like the successful Atlassian cloud migration, which is coming up. For many instances, for you folks that are in a server instance now and you're planning your move to the cloud instance before March of 2024, we can help with that, and we offer these as webinars, so at no cost, so that you can at least get some ideas. And then, if any of these conversations or displays lead you to want to have a talk with us to consider the possibility of us being your consultancy, we would love to have that conversation. And we hope that many of these things will start those conversations and find out if we can be of any value to you. We certainly hope so, but we love to just at least have that particular conversation. So enough of enough of that. Let's talk about a little bit about governance, and then we'll get ready to wrap it up. So you've seen a lot of capabilities. You've seen a lot between different types of spaces, whether it is an engagement for a client that's IT, whether it is a marketing group, whether it is this also is your knowledge base source for your Jira Service Management help desk portal. So there's lots of different ways that you can see it, and hopefully you've gotten a lot of things, seen a lot of displays of types of information or arrangements of information to get you thinking. But again, it really does come down to, once you see what all it can do, a very important part of your organization needs to talk about how you're going to use it. And so governance is very important. We recommend that you even have a governance space in Confluence where your governance team, and we do recommend a committee, would make the decisions as to how you want to use it. You want to manage things like you don't want information, the same information created in more than one space. Now you can share from one space to another, but you want to make sure that it's not being housed in different locations as far as where it's created. You want to think about the look and feel, policies, procedure. The whole point is to try and reduce the confusion of information on your pages. And without an honest approach to governance, our phrase is that without governance, you're simply going to amplify your dysfunction. There's no magic fix me button in any Atlassian product. It all relies upon you thinking about it. It's always about the people first. The iron triangle of people, processes, tools. And it's that order that we at XPM focus on. It's first, who are your people and what are their capabilities? What do you want them to do? What are the processes? And then finally, you get the tool to match those things in that order, instead of trying to look at the tool and cram your people into it from there. So again, that's a good, healthy discussion on a whiteboard or a Miro board, and we love having that with potential clients as well. And I wish I could tell you there's a single answer. There's not. It's really dependent upon what your organization is like, what your environment is like, how you work, what you want to accomplish. And those are the things that we can help you with if we can. We want to help you come up with your standards of how you're going to use it, and then help you manage the permissions of who is going to use it. That's an important part of doing that. So if we can have that conversation with you, we would love to do so. Seemed like I've done a lot of talking, a lot of showing off, and I want to take at least a couple of minutes toward the end just to see if there were any questions that may have arisen while I've been doing this presentation. I'm going to check and see if we have anything on the Q&A. Again, if you would like to enter your questions, feel free to do so. Couple of questions that we tend to get, especially for those of you that are looking at Jira Service Management for your help desk and your customers that are going to be making the issue or the incident requests. If you're using the knowledge base, the article, sometimes we get the question, does the viewer of the article need to have a Confluence license to be able to see that? And the answer is no. And they don't actually have to have a Jira license either. They have a group in the Jira Service Management, user management for customers, and they add those names available. And so those people can go to your engagement portal in your Jira Service Management help portal, and they can also see your knowledge base articles without requiring a license. So that's usually a great relief to those that may have 100 people in their IT department or 50 people in their Jira Service Management, but they serve 600 customers. Well, they don't need a license. So another thing you can ask is simply, can you make a Jira or a Confluence space public? Yes. What you're looking at here is actually one of our public demo instances, and this is, we have made this public when we're showing people. We have others like our curriculum sites, and so it can be permitted at the Confluence administration level to make public available, and then at the space level, under space settings, the space creator could determine whether or not the space could be viewable to the public, or I'll just simply manage who gets to see it, who gets to edit at all. And those are options that you can manage both at the global level and at the space administration level. You heard me say, and I may have said it too far in passing, the idea that Atlassian is planning to sunset or deprecate server licenses, so on-prem server licenses in March of 2024. They announced that in October of 20. And so we're seeing a lot of our work right now is helping our clients move from the server instance to the cloud instance. If that's something that you're thinking about, first off, Atlassian does have some decent tools to help you set up the migration, and also gives you like a run book to think about. But we assist a lot of folks in helping you do that. There is a lot of things that we can talk about if you need to. Confluence Cloud is recently seeing some new innovations take place. There is coming up with, in the near future, the ability to have external collaborators, so people that are not in your work instance, maybe outside, be able to add them to your instance. And then you can manage the type of interaction that they can have with you on Confluence, so you can limit their types of service. It does require a license for them, but you can do that. I think that may be about, I'm running out of time and I'm running out of voice. So unless there are questions, I think what I'd like to do is just simply say thank you for joining me. I hope this has been beneficial to you. I hope you've seen a lot, maybe learned a little bit, a couple of things. And if you wanted to see anything else, we encourage you to reach out. Maybe the same way that you reached out to us for this. You can find us off of our webpage, ask us questions, and that will reach our project coordinator office. And we would love to have that conversation with you about Confluence, about Jira Service Management, about Jira Align, about any Atlassian product, or anything that you're attempting to do at your organization to move into more managing your work better. So again, my name is Tony Hartsfield. I am from xpm.com. And I thank you for joining us. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks, everyone.